In your biography on your website, you say, "I'm a third-generation Waterville native. I played in the neighborhoods, studied at the public schools, and prayed in the churches. I grew up with a deep-rooted respect for the honest, hard-working people of Maine. I understand our great state and appreciate our unique quality of life." How important do you believe it is to have been born and raised in Maine when it comes to being able to lead the state?
Well, we're all Mainers in this state. If you've been here for 4 generations like our family, or you came here yesterday, the important thing is to make sure our next governor really understands the problems that confront us. And I think it does give folks an advantage if they have been here for a period of time. For example, when I was younger, growing up in Waterville, if you fell in the Kennebec River, you needed a tetanus shot. Now, we have come a very long way, Logan, over the past 50 years in cleaning up our environment, and it's a big part of our brand up here in Maine. I think it's very important for our next governor to understand those issues, because part of Maine and having this terrific quality of life is our environment. So I do think it helps to have that experience.
Let's turn to the specific issues now. You have said Maine is one of the most anti-business states in America. How can we change this?
Well, the first thing we need to do is have someone in the Blaine House who will introduce a whole new attitude when it comes to business development and jobs. Businesses are not the enemies. They employ our people, and in a few years you're going to find that out when you're out of school. But we need to make sure we have that experience in the Blaine House, Logan. Then we need to audit every state, department, agency, and program to eliminate waste. Then install what I call performance metrics. So we will know what we're trying to achieve with these programs, and we can measure success or failure. And then hire other professional managers, not politicians, to run our state government. When we do that, we'll then be one of those states that only spends what we take in. And when we learn how to do that, we can lower taxes to create incentives for businesses to locate here and create jobs. So it's really a new attitude when it comes to business development and jobs, getting our spending under control, reducing taxes. That will greatly help the business climate in the state.
How can we get our spending under control?
Well, we need someone who's been in the private sector who knows how to say no. One example of the fiscal mismanagement we've had in this state, Logan, for a very long period of time is, for example, in our social programs. 30% of our budget deals with a whole network of social programs, the largest of which is our Medicaid program called Maine Care. Now, one of the problems we have in that program is that it was originally designed to care for those who were truly the most needy among us. But today, the benefits offered are so generous compared to other states, and there's no residency requirement such that folks can come to Maine on Monday, get their driver's license on Tuesday, and be in that program on Wednesday.
Wow.
And we can no longer afford that. There's an example of gross mismanagement at the state level. So if we can reform that program as an example, we'll be able to save a boatload of money and start reducing taxes and the cost of doing business in this state.
How can we create more jobs in the state of Maine?
We have to first reduce permanently the cost and the complexity of doing business in Maine. Let me give you an example. One of the companies that I run is a housing construction firm in the Mid-Coast area. For 2.5 years, Logan, I negotiated with 4 state agencies and 3 at the local level before I could get the permits to proceed. That is 2.5 years before I could hire 1 worker. Now, that is an example of how complicated it is to do business in this state. It is very important for our next governor to have that type of experience dealing with our bureaucracy to try to create a business and create jobs. Once we're able to streamline and simplify our business regulations, that will help us create a more business-friendly environment to attract investment in jobs.
How can we simplify this?
Well, as I said before, we need someone with experience in the private sector who understands that. There are all kinds of opportunities to simplify our business regulatory environment, but a manager needs to be someone who, first of all, understands that issue. And then we can hire the professional managers in the various agencies that operate our government to make sure we streamline that regulatory environment.
What specific jobs do we need in the state of Maine?
We need all jobs. Every job is a good job right now at our particular point in time. The problem that we have in Maine is that our private sector has been shrinking the past 25 years, and we've been taxing it to death to pay for a growing public sector. Now, the best jobs in this state are those, or should be those, in the private sector. Private sector jobs create new income and therefore new tax revenue to run the public sector. The only way government works well is when you have a healthy private sector economy. We do not have that in the state because of the policy decisions made in Augusta to create a very complicated and costly place to do business.
And we'll be right back with Youth in Politics. Don't go away.